Welcome back to Made to Walk. Today we're going to be walking through what the function of a nonprofit board does. So maybe you're thinking about being a nonprofit board member, maybe you're an executive director and you're looking for the right relationship between you and the board, or maybe you're on a board and you're thinking, am I fully leaning into my role? Do I understand that responsibility? So let's just start by identifying the two different areas between the executive director and the daily staff and that of a nonprofit board. So the first thing to know is that the executive director is a visionary and their goal is to run the day-to-day operations, which is not managed by the board. So the board is a part of understanding and communicating oversight, strategy, and ensuring the financial health of the nonprofit. So, where does the inspiration come from when we are talking about nonprofit work? Well, vision often comes from the executive director, but the board is very much a part of that vision. It helps to get the executive director moving in the right direction to get them towards their end goals. So, helping to frame managing operations, leading the staff, and ensuring the organization fulfills its mission effectively and ethically. So, we want to be very conscientious of we want to get to our goal, but how are we going to get there? It may be slower than we like, and it may be an overnight thing, but we want to make sure that the safety and the security of the organization is put first. So even if you are given a amazing grant and you want to implement things overnight, still need to make sure that you have the legal ramifications put into place. Do you have the proper forms, the proper liability or insurance coverage, the proper connections to make sure that you know exactly what you're signing up for? Slowing down and having those conversations can be really vital to an organization. The second aspect is seeing a vision and understanding how to get there are two very different things. I have dealt with many executive directors who have this incredible idea, but they don't have a clue how they're going to get there. And so having people around them who can help them to frame, okay, this is how we're going to do that and this is where we need to go, and then making sure that they actually hit that expectation is important. That can come from your board. It can also come from external consultants that you bring in and say, hey, this is something we really want to create. This is something we want to build. It's something that we're trying to work towards. How would you suggest that we get there? And then listening to those conversations and understanding fully the expectations of what you're signing up for. Because sometimes you can have a vision and idea and not really know everything that comes with that. And so when you do hear all of those things, you get to sit back and ask that question again. Are we sure we want to go through with this? Are we actually prepared to do this right now? Do we have the financial means? Do we have the staffing? Do we have all of the requirements to do this well? Because you don't want to do things sort of kind of and figure it out down the road. You want to be able to execute at your highest capacity with making sure that everything is to the best of your ability, hitting all of the legal and policy marks that you can to keep you guys out of trouble. And so that's where the board can really work with the executive director to make sure that those things, that you're asking the right questions and that you're getting the right answers from professionals. When building the foundation of your board, you want to think of these three components when you are discussing with someone about the potential of being a board member. The first one is duty of care. You want to make informed decisions. And the only way to really do that is to make sure that you are showing up to meetings, that you are well informed on what's going on, and that you are addressing the activities that are happening on a day to day basis by being part of the conversation, asking good questions, and using available resources to make well informed decisions. The second is duty of loyalty. You want to put the organization's interests first. And so board members do need to be conscientious of any kind of discussion or topic matter that may introduce a conflict of interest, recusing themselves from being part of that conversation if at any time they realize that it would benefit their own personal interests or businesses. And the third is duty of obedience. We want to ensure the organization stays true to its mission. So we won't take on any major partnerships if that partnership is introduced and doesn't actually feed our target demographic. The second part of that is that we have to buy into our own mission by both financially giving and also being a representative of someone who goes out into the community and tries to find partnerships for investment purposes as well. So let's talk about overcoming obstacles. I know most board members are thinking, I don't know if I can handle any kind of internal issues. I don't know if I'm equipped for that or would even know how to go about managing that. So we're going to talk about that here just for a moment. So, whenever you have an internal issue, you need to remind yourself that the goal is always to preserve the mission, to maintain the trust, and to restore leadership. So you want to ask yourself, is this a personality conflict, an ethical concern, a performance issue, or is it a communication breakdown? That will really help you to identify how you need to respond. If you just look at a problem as a problem, you might feel a little overwhelmed about what next steps to take. So let's talk about those steps. And our stepping stones and our red flags, we want to look at these three key components. When we're looking at the red flags, which are, is it harassment, discrimination, or a hostile work environment? Are there financial mismanagements or ethical violations? Or is there toxic leadership behaviors that endanger the staff's well being or mission? In other words, do you see massive turnaround or internal issues that continue to be consistent in conversation? Then you want to be asking yourself these next three questions. Were policies clear? In other words, have you set clear expectations? Have you really been able to direct the executive director as to what the bylaws or any kind of internal policies there may be put into place? And if so, then the second question is, were roles and boundaries crossed? In other words, are people crossing into each other's lanes? Are they confused about their role? Maybe they don't know if things are falling into their department or not. And so they're just making the best informed decision that they can. And they need to have a clearer path forward. Working with a representative to come in and help to identify roles and KPIs can really help to manage that. And the third aspect is, can communication or culture be strengthened? Is there something internal that can be done with better training or more advancements in technology, access to resources, help to resolve the issue? And if not, then you have to be thinking about the next steps. So we want to talk about impact and influence that a board has, right? We need to be able to communicate clearly with the executive director about her internal or his internal team. And the best way to do that is to set these three key components. And the first one is to clarify expectations. Again, going back to, are there policies, job descriptions, or codes of conduct that apply? And then you need to have regular check ins to see if those things are truly being managed well. When you set the initiatives for being able to create check ins, you want to do so with written agreements or performance improvement plans because you don't want to be doing any guessing work. You don't want to be trying to build this on the fly or hope it gets better over time or hope it figures itself out or hope these two people learn how to work together more. You want to be able to have something in place that you can actually monitor and analyze and be able to keep data on. Are you having the same conversations about the same issues over and over, or is this a new issue that you need to address with a new set of solutions? And setting those goals with the timeline. So, in other words, you don't want to be keep having quarterly meetings and bringing up this conversation of, have you been working on this? Have you been resolving this issue? Oh, I haven't gotten to it yet. I've been really busy with other things. Or, oh, I intend to do it, but other stuff came up. You need to have really clear goals set in timeline. By the next meeting, we expect you to have this, this, and this, or we're going to be observing this over the next 6 months to address whether or not we think that this is a manageable issue internally or if further steps need to be taken. So, if you're currently on a board or you're thinking about being a board member, you might be asking yourself, am I fully embodying the role of a board member? Well, let's just talk about what the description should be. A board member serves as a steward of the mission and ensures the nonprofit remains legally compliant, financially sound, and strategically effective. You also want to be looking at these key categories to make sure that you're having the appropriate conversations in your board meetings. The first needs to be governance. And that is to approve policy, evaluate the executive director, and to uphold the mission, truly understanding where the nonprofit is and is it fully functioning to its best capacity. So, what you don't want to do is have new board members or new executive director team members who come in with a new vision or new ideas, and they're trying to implement that at new speeds with constant newness. We're going to try this new thing, that new thing, we're doing this new thing, but nothing is actually be coming to fruition. It's not actually getting executed to actual completion. And then it's not being communicated with the general public as to what resources are available and how they would acquire those resources if they need them. So we want to make sure that when you are talking about the mission, do we have programs that have to do with the mission of the organization? And do people know what those programs are? And are they actually being fully engaged? Like, do we have it to full capacity, or are very few people engaging with that program? Is it because that program is ineffective, or is it because people just simply don't know that we have that program? Where we're talking about the financial aspect of things, you want to be able to review budgets and ensure compliance. From a strategic guidance sideline kind of conversation that you'll have is to shape the vision. So you are going to approve major initiatives, and that is going to help to, again, just shape where the vision is going. The fundraising and support side of things, again, kind of back onto the financial aspect, is that the donations, whether it be yourself or donors that you're bringing in, that you are connecting them to the mission, that they understand what they are funding, and that you are out there advocating for this organization doing good things, that you are being a good spokesperson, essentially, that you are a walking billboard for the organization that you represent. And lastly, it is going to be board culture. So we want to be able to mentor peers and build diversity and stay informed. So you want to have a diverse board that has people from all walks of life and all different job descriptions who can really be an expert in their field to be able to come in and say, hey, this is where I really think that you guys could benefit from implementing these things in order to be more effective in this way. And don't be scared away or deterred by corporate management, because corporate really does bring a true structure to nonprofit work, which can oftentimes be disconnected by too many people thinking with a positive emotional aspect of connection. And then if you have too much corporate, then you're just mostly focused on policies and legal aspects, and there's not enough vision, there's not enough emotional connection to the mission. So you really want to have a diversity in the balance of those things. I think it is so vital for Christians to be a part of nonprofit boards, not simply because we're Christians and we should be out there doing good things, but simply because we are governed by a connection to a higher power that gives us a moral compass that is different from the world. And when you have people who have unethical balance, who come in and want to be part of a work, maybe it's for their own personal gain or their own personal attention, then you're going to see a disconnect from the community who learn to distrust nonprofits and start to give less and less to these organizations that can do a lot of good work. It can also leave for an imbalance in how we approach these programs, because with people in leadership who simply are just there to take a paycheck and aren't there because of a moral connection, a worldview, a philosophy that engages with the community to want them to be better, then you will consistently see that people are actually more harmed than helped by organizations that provide services that they say that they will help with, but actually do a lot more harm. And so we can be the balance by being great advocates for speaking up in ways that connect to the boldness of who we are in our Christianity, in our faith, in our walk, what we are feeling compelled to speak up for and against at times. And I think about this verses, I should say, in the book of Mark. In chapter 10, verses 42 through 45, it says, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." We come from a servant based philosophy, a servant based worldview. And so we are there to truly do the work that we feel compelled and called to do. And I think that that's what makes us great people to be an impact on an organization's nonprofit board and to be part of those ethical conversations that really help to hold the balance and protect people in our communities. So if you're thinking, I don't know if I want to get wrapped up in all of that, or that seems like a lot of responsibility, or I'm not sure that I can really make an impact there, you can. Even if you don't have some fantastic role in a major company, or you don't come with a huge repertoire of experience, it doesn't matter if you truly understand the biblical aspect of ethical connection, because you can help to govern and have leadership in those moral conversations that makes you a strong leader and that makes you someone that people can trust and connect and communicate with. So I really hope that that helps in framing your expectations of what it means to be on a board. I want to just make our website available to you, madetowalk.org. If it is of interest in you to have an internal review, if you need to have a board review or an internal staffing review to look at your programs, to look at your staffing and make sure that things are working at the most effective and ethical way possible, we'd love to be able to do that for you. And you can reach out to us there. Thank you so much, and continue to want to work with you and walk with you through tough times.